Dobrodošli u novo izdanje emisije podcasta Otvorena prilika. Razgovaramo sa bivšim američkim ambasadorom u Bosni i Hercegovini, gospodinom Erikom Nelsonom. Ovo izdanje posebno je po tome što po prvi put snimamo u Zoom formatu. Naš gost trenutno se nalazi van Bosne i Hercegovine, ali je kroz svoj rad i djelovanje ostao veoma povezan sa našom zemljom. Ostanite uz Otvorena prilika podcast, a ukoliko imate prijedlog gosta za neku od narednih emisija, pišite nam.
Dobar dan. Kako ste?
Dobro sam. Kako si?
Ja sam jako dobro i jako sretna što ste vi sa mnom. Mr. Erik Nelson is with me today, and he is a former American ambassador in Bosnia and Herzegovina. What originally inspired you to start a career in diplomacy?
Oh, I think it was I know it was my curiosity about the world. I'm the grandson of four immigrants to the United States, four Europeans. And growing up, I was always interested in world events, but I studied engineering. And in my last year of engineering, I had an opportunity for an exchange program. And I went to Germany for the summer. And I studied German. And I just was blown away by how fun it was and how interesting the world looked to me and how much more interesting America looked to me from when I could see it from far away. So I went back and finished my degree, but then I decided to go quicker to work globally, and I joined the Peace Corps. And I was sent to Liberia and West Africa to teach math and science. I did that for 2 years. I went back to get a master's degree in business, and I took the examination for the Foreign Service of the United States, and they invited me to become a management officer to help manage the State Department. And I did that for the first 15 years, mostly in Latin America and Europe. And then I had opportunities to lead our consulates and our embassies, and really started to have fun engaging in the external diplomacy, not just the internal operation of diplomacy. That began in Munich, where I was Consul General for Bavaria. And then I went to Costa Rica as Deputy Ambassador, went back to Washington and worked for 3 Secretaries of State, and worked for an organization promoting innovation called e-Diplomacy. And then I was nominated to be ambassador in Bosnia-Herzegovina. I was nominated by President Trump and confirmed by the Senate. And but of course, then Biden was elected, so I also served President Biden. And then after Bosnia-Herzegovina, I came back to Germany, to Bavaria, because I had an opportunity to be ambassador in residence at the Marshall Center for Security Studies. And I did that for 2.5 years, and then I retired. And I've remained in Munich, and also we have a home here in Italy where I'm speaking to you from. So I'm spending all of my time now between Germany and Italy, with occasional trips home to the United States. But Europe is very much my home.
We see. And you travel all around the world and work all around the world. What part is your highlight? Except Italy and Germany, because they are home for you now.
I think 2 highlights were, I have to mention, I would say, are Mexico, which is a fantastic country. I made many, many friends. It's a beautiful city, the capital, very dynamic, fascinating culture, wonderful food, and very, very friendly people. So I made many friends there that I still am close to. And of course, Bosnia-Herzegovina, the opportunity to be an ambassador, to speak for my country at that level. It was really special for me to be able to do that in Europe, where I could be close to family here. But to be engaged in a country as interesting and as challenged as Bosnia-Herzegovina was a honor and a challenge. And I was new to the Balkans. Many of my colleagues had experience serving there, but this was my first time working in Southeast Europe. And so um, it empowered me to be the new person asking questions, why are we doing this? And challenging old assumptions. So it was a great time. And I made a lot of friends there, and I go back often. I'm engaged there supporting a NGO called the War Childhood Museum. I joined their board. So it's really, I enjoy going back to Bosnia-Herzegovina and staying in touch um, with friends and people there, especially young people, and especially people, and when I travel around the world to meet people in diaspora.
That's great. And you meet people in diaspora. What's the occasions? Why you meet people in diaspora? How can they help Bosnia and Herzegovina?
I meet people in diaspora invariably because they're doing very interesting things. I'm still very interested in the tech sector. So many, and given my engineering background, I'm very interested in what's happening in science and technology. So many of the BIH diaspora are very successful in the tech field, whether they're doing research or as entrepreneurs. So I encounter a lot of them because one of the NGOs that I support is called TechSoup, which is trying to support civil society around the world with tech tools for them to do better helping their communities. Um, but also the diaspora, I've been engaged with the diaspora because those who return to Bosnia-Herzegovina to make an investment or to mentor students, I see making a really big difference. And so I like supporting those efforts and staying in touch with people who are really trying to make a difference and create change and progress in Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Do you see that Bosnia and Herzegovina is changed while when you first time arrive and now? Are we
How's
going?
it changed?
Yeah, are we going in some
Well,
good?
unfortunately, I wouldn't say many people think it's progressing. There's not much progress. Unfortunately, the brain drain continues. Many people are deciding that it's easier to advance by leaving. I think it's important for people to seek opportunities and leave, but it's even more important when they come back with the experience or the education they gain outside of Bosnia-Herzegovina, because leaving Bosnia-Herzegovina is eye-opening for people. This is what's so amazing to me about and why I support exchange programs so much, because I see um, invariably when people get to leave their community, they begin to really understand and see their potential and appreciate the world and see more opportunities. So um, I see continued progress in terms of people investing in creating jobs and creating opportunities for youth. Unfortunately, the government is still not very effective at advancing the country toward better integration with NATO and the European Union, toward more of a rule of law environment where what counts is how you, not who you're connected to, but how you perform according to standards that everybody agrees on. Because frankly, Bosnians do very well when they know what the rules are and and are able to compete. Um, so it's sad to see the country still struggling and too much energy going into keeping the country divided rather than bringing it together where everybody gets to succeed according to their talents and contributions.
Yeah, I know. But we try our best to be on the good side of the and try to do best to make Bosnia proud of us.
Yes,
And you
yes.
you are like one of the person who is really, really we Bosnia can say that you are really big friends of Bosnia. So thank you for that.
Well, I'm so impressed with the people that I met there, with everyone I met, because um, I think that the people of Bosnia and Herzegovina are exceptional in the world for a very high level of adaptability and resilience. They've for centuries they encountered adversity, but they found ways to make things work locally, and they can. They're I think they have a very strong trait of being entrepreneurial and of appreciating culture and valuing their home. And it's tragic how many times that's been hijacked by politics and by power struggles. But it's a very it's an amazing place in the world, and more people should know it.
Yeah. What is the most amazing place that you visit in Bosnia and Herzegovina? Can you highlight some of?
Well, it's hard to single out, and because invariably I'll leave many out. Um, it's such a small country, and unfortunately, it's not easy to move around. Can take hours and hours to go from one end to the other. But I did my best to visit as many corners as I could. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic made that very difficult for most of the time. But we just did better, frankly, reaching out with tools like we're using today and still connecting with people, even though it's only in two dimensions. But I think the two of course, Sarajevo is special because it is the crossroads of East and West, has such a rich history and such a fascinating culture and I think a dynamic economy. Um, and there are great events there like the film festival that everyone should experience when the city really comes to life. But two places that I have very especially fond memories of. One is, of course, Mostar, which is another just city of tremendous physical beauty, but also of rich cultural and historic significance. And as you remember, I had an opportunity to help the local leaders there really advance their negotiations toward a new electoral law so that finally the city could have a functioning mayor and city council again after many years of lack of self-government. So it was great. Mostar is very special to me because it showed how um, at the community level, people are ready to work together and to try to solve problems together. And the ambassadors, I think, made a difference convincing the national leaders to let that happen, to let Mostar solve their problems. And because at the national level, I think too many leaders like when things don't work, when they see the groups just opposing each other all the time. And most our leaders said, we've had enough of that. We need to solve problems. And another town that really was special to me was Bielina, because just a couple reasons. One, I met so many interesting young people there. And as I was promoted, we founded the Bold program and being able to talk to people about what would you like to do? What would you like to learn to try and help your community, to try and improve your future? And and there were great examples in Bielina. I met, fantastic teachers there and students. It was impressive. When the time that I visited, it was the only city in Bosnia-Herzegovina that was growing because it had a very responsive local government and the university was doing well. So actually, young people were moving there. And that made for a very interesting dynamic. And there was a wonderful, even a technology firm there called Biomech, which for several years was very successful, founded by a local engineer from from Bielina, using the local talent. It's a U.S. firm doing biomechanical solutions. And for many years, they were very successful there. So I thought it was a great example of the talent, the local talent of Bosnia and Herzegovina, finding opportunity. And so I was very impressed.
Yeah, me too. Especially about your program. I mean, you are one of initiator of the program BOLD,
Yeah.
right? Can you
Yeah.
tell us more about it?
So, as I mentioned, I think the exchange programs are very important for any young person. And even if you don't have an opportunity to go overseas, it can be good just to go. If you're from Sarajevo, to go study in Banja Luka, or vice versa. It's amazing how many young people in Bosnia and Herzegovina have hardly moved around and
Yeah.
have never been even to Sarajevo. So the advantage of these exchange programs is it really helps people see potential they weren't aware of. And the diaspora, unfortunately, the diaspora has too many examples of this, where people, until they left Bosnia and Herzegovina, they never really discovered their potential. So reaching out, whether it's, beginning with reaching out online in communities, or looking for opportunities to go work or study somewhere different, really opens people's eyes to new potential that they weren't quite aware that they had, if they're only looking at what people around them are doing or what their family thinks they could do. So, the BOLD program was an idea that came from my team at the embassy, which I thought was just fantastic because I was there at the 25th anniversary of the end of the war, and many people were frustrated with the lack of progress. So we realized, for 25 years, we've been trying to empower local change makers, and I agreed that we needed to do more of that. And we needed to do more to inspire people not to leave, because so many people would come to me and say, I love my country, and so many of my friends are leaving. They're going to Vienna, they're going to Amsterdam, and then they're not coming back. But I don't want to do that. I love this place. I love my family. I have my friends here. So the BOLD program was set up to give people sometimes an opportunity to leave and have training outside, but also to help them with mentoring and with grants and some training locally to look at what are some challenges in my community, or what's a business idea I have and how could I get that started. And people, I think, just need a hand sometimes, and with a good dose of inat, with that Bosnia-Herzegovina stubbornness that I'm going to make this work. It's amazing to see how people can succeed. So that's why BOLD was set up, and I'm very glad that with all of the cuts in the State Department that President Trump has pushed through, that this program is still funded. And in fact, I'm so proud that it's been copied now and is now operating also in Montenegro, in Serbia, I think in North Macedonia. So it's a great formula. And I think it's wonderful to give young people the opportunity to learn how to make change happen.
Yeah, I'm one of the bold child, so I know what you're talking about because we had so many opportunity, but people are not aware. Young people from Bosnia and Herzegovina, especially, are not aware about bold so much, and
Yeah.
this is one of our ways to say them, okay, you have a way to stay here, you have a way to study here and work here, and that's why we call you to actually speak with you about all this, because I know when we want to set up something, it's better to hear from someone who is really investing in Bosnia and Herzegovina, their time, their knowledge and everything. So this is what we wanna share your stories. So uh, when
Well, again, I think it's about seeing potential.
yeah,
To just think, Because what I think Bold does is help people find their potential. Many people don't even imagine what skills and gifts they have or what they could develop. So that's that's why I think it's a great program, and that's why I continue to support all initiatives like it.
Yeah. Do you have more initiative like that when you was ambassador here that we should share with our people?
Well, of course, there were several other exchange opportunities at the high school and the college level, which you can, if you follow the embassy Instagram and Facebook, you'll always find out about those. Um, the European Union is offering many opportunities. Um, there are many. There's a wonderful. There are also some great homegrown initiatives, and one of the most impressive, I think, is the BH Futures Foundation, which especially focuses on young people interested in science, technology, engineering, and the arts, and assigns them with vendors and gives them sometimes and training experience, assigns them mentors, I'm sorry, and um, and gives them coaching and inspiration to succeed in those fields. And it's a wonderful homegrown initiative that is powered just by local citizens and professionals and many in the diaspora as well.
Yeah.
So um, I think that I'm glad that many people agree that investing in the younger generation is really worthwhile.
Yeah. But what about other project and other? Do you have some project with government and everything that you are proud of, the, except Mostar because you mentioned it? What about because you are a person who is working so much and we see your face every day in journalist in some articles because you're doing so much here and we want to highlight something that says this is American government when you was ambassador do here. You see there's a people who wanna work something and there's a people who work something for our country. You are one of that people.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I think about it's really about the partners that we supported. It's so much about what the U.S. government was doing. And because, and as we've seen with the abolition of the Agency for International Development, suddenly all of that support is gone. And so the investment always needed to be in local talent and local capacity to carry the country forward. And there was I mean, all of that negativity when USAID was canceled was just invented. It was just false information because not everything we invested in Bosnia and Herzegovina worked, but the overwhelming majority really paid off. The entrepreneurs, the prosecutors, the um, the judges, the activists, the students that we invested in, that AID invested in, were all um, overwhelmingly successful. And there are a couple of institutions that I think are really fighting hard to do good work that are continuing. One is Transparency International, which I think is doing very important work to focus on corruption, because I think that corruption is a fundamental challenge. It's what's holding Bosnia-Herzegovina back. It's not unique to Bosnia-Herzegovina. Every country fights corruption. Now in America, we're fighting corruption in an even bigger way than we've ever had to. But it's something that really undermines democracy and undermines opportunity. Um, and Transparency International is doing very hard work trying to help citizens understand what's really happening. Another group that's amazing is Podlupom, the civil society organization that is helping Bosnia and Herzegovina have free and fair elections. And because the volunteers who need to be engaged every election observing um, are really an important part of the equation, because every election institution is vulnerable to manipulation. And engaging civil society is a universal antidote to that. So I think Podlupom's work continues, and we invested heavily in their capacity, and I encourage everyone to support them. There's so many entrepreneurs that continue to do good work. And there are the exchange programs, as I mentioned, that continue. One of them that it's still working is, which I know is especially popular in many corners, especially Srpska of Bosnia and Herzegovina, is the Summer Youth Work Program, where people get to go to the U.S. and have an opportunity, mostly to have a summer job, but also to have a short cultural educational component as well. So those programs all preceded me, but I was happy to support them, and I'm happy to see them continue. And I think that probably when you think about where the U.S. has invested most in Bosnia and Herzegovina, I have to mention the armed forces, because the armed forces of Bosnia and Herzegovina represent one of the few areas where leaders actually agreed to meaningful reforms 20 years ago of uniting the three armies that that came out of the war of the 90s. Imagine Bosnia and Herzegovina, the war ended, and it still had three different armies.
Yeah.
And so the leadership that it took to agree that we were going to have just one armed forces was really important. And the U.S. has made massive investments in developing the capacity of the armed forces, helping them stand up as a trusted partner of NATO. They do excellent work in demining and police work. They've been great partners to the UN and to NATO. And it's a institution in Bosnia and Herzegovina that deserves the respect it receives. It deserves more funding, but it's one where you see the three constituent peoples and all others working together according to rules that apply equally to everybody, and where it's a system that promotes integrity and self-government and self-regulation that needs to continue to progress and should continue to progress and open the door for Bosnia and Herzegovina to join NATO, and then quickly thereafter, it always happens, to be able to join the EU. So it's not a career chosen by many because the pay is poor, but it's an institution of great integrity, and it does great service in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and you see that every time there's an unfortunate disaster. So being able to deliver to them 4 helicopters, for example, that are helping them with their disaster response and helping them help Bosnia and Herzegovina and be a valued partner in the region and for NATO. That's one of the best investments that the U.S. has been making and continues to make. Because you can't build a democracy and you can't build a good, strong economy if you don't have a security sector that's governed by rule of law. And that's what we've been building with the armed forces of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yeah. But can we go back to now for normal people? Because I want to know what you meet so many people all around Bosnia and Herzegovina. What was your impression about them? What is their hopes? What is their like how they affect on you?
Well, I would always, my approach to life and to my work was always to see the glass half full. So, of course, you'd meet many people who are still suffering, whose families were torn apart during the war, And I think that there's a strong legacy of that from generation to generation, and the last war was only the last example of it, where there's tremendous PTSD in the country, like in so many, that has been passed down. The trauma of war can carry forward, and it manifests itself in a very negative way in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in the way people are still separated, that so many classrooms are even still divided. And that's just so bad for the country. And to meet people who are trying to overcome that, and to reach beyond the very limited scope that they were growing up in, was very important. And because people learn the hatred, and they aren't born with it. And looking for opportunities to not have that limit your life is really important. So there were many people that I met who were really interested in coming together and saying, I love this country. I want to have opportunities here. I'd like to promote, one of the great projects that USAID had was promoting tourism, helping people grow the tourism sector, bringing people to these beautiful corners of Bosnia and Herzegovina that are unique, and just an hour's flight and 2 hours flight from many capitals of Europe. But also to defend the country and defend its tremendous natural resources and beauty. That was really fun and rewarding to me, to find people who were looking at the local problems and thinking, how do we solve them, and not expect other people alone to solve problems that are holding us back.
And what about young people? Do they have the same problems and same, or they are more open to future?
I think many of them are more open. Fortunately, many of them have, being online can be very negative, because the algorithms will segregate you, but being online also enables you to connect with people you wouldn't otherwise connect with. So to find that you have common interests with people across the country and across Europe and across the world, there's so much opportunity in the world, and being able to kind of pursue that and find ways to pursue that. Again, beginning to discover what is your potential and what's that talent you have to carry your passion forward. Matching that up with the opportunity and with the support is not easy, but it can happen, and it takes effort. So for young people who think they deserve something better, yes, I agree. And I hope you find partners and help and mentors and resources to help you make that happen.
Thank you. I consider myself to young people, but so thank you in their name. Do you believe that young people, that this is really a land of opportunity?
I would not describe that as Bosnia-Herzegovina's strong point. I would describe, because there's so many limits, because there's so much corruption, because so much depends on who you're connected to. But that ability to connect with people can also be a real positive. And when you meet people like the people who are active in the science, in STEM, the BH Futures Foundation, the entrepreneurs they don't want to talk about they want to think about what's the opportunity. And they want to work with people who are thinking about solutions and not just complaining about problems. So there are a lot of very clever and resilient and adaptable people in Bosnia and Herzegovina. There's a surplus, and there's not enough opportunity within the country. So you have to work extra hard to create that opportunity and to find the people, the doors that are just open and you need to push through. Many people find that the opportunity happens when they leave. And I hope that they will, I don't discourage them, I encourage them to pursue those, but to not give up on the experience that they gain when leaving and come back and still make a difference.
I hope that they don't leave, because my opinion, and opinion, this open opportunities actually, that we have opportunity here,
Yeah.
but we still looking for them, I
Yeah.
think.
And to also keep in mind what the balance is on your quality of life. Yes, you can make a higher wage in Germany, and many people feel that they have less to worry about for the future of their children and their education. But in Bosnia and Herzegovina, there's a wonderful quality of life, and there are good economic opportunities for. Um, you have to work harder to find them, I would say, but you're with family in a beautiful country in a place that you love, and that's important. And leaving can bring you many rewards, but you give up a lot. So be careful to give that up.
Yeah. And what about skills? What do you think that new generations need to learn more? What skills?
Well, I have to say I'm glad I'm retired because the economy is becoming so dynamic. Well, it seems that there's a lot of opportunity now with AI. And it's always been fascinating to me and a challenge for me as a professional to think about all of the data that we have in the world and think about how that data could help us find solutions to problems. I worked for many years in the State Department trying to find ways to do that. And it's amazing what's happening now with AI, where these learning models are able to review tremendous mountains of data and find patterns that aren't apparent to the human brain. And finding things like what languages birds have. I mean, the human mind had been able to decipher 12 languages among birds. And AI has in its engagement, and this is from, I don't know how many more there are, but I learned this a year ago. Their AI has identified 6,000 languages among birds. So what's interesting is how AI can empower anybody to do more. So I think anybody getting familiar, you don't have to be an engineer. And um, I'm not attracted to that level of technical engagement, but I think anyone who is, even if you're not very technical, to be able to learn how these tools can help you become a better artist, a better creator, a better problem solver, a better writer. Um, it's amazing what's happening. So it's going to disrupt a lot of sectors, but it's also going to empower a lot of individuals who figure this out to how to become a better artist, how to express themselves better, how to create things, how to make things. So, and I hope they make things that are good because there's also potential to do things that aren't good.
I think that is so bigger opportunity to don't do good things with AI.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit afraid of that. So maybe to be careful about what we wish in the future.
Well, I think you have to look at the technology with respect, but not fear, because if you fear, you can fear the negative it can do. But if the people who fear it aren't engaged with it, they won't be finding the ways to have the technology control the the negative things.
Yeah.
So it's gonna run on two tracks.
Yeah. But let's go back to Bosnia and Herzegovina. I forget to ask you about one big question in Bosnia and Herzegovina. What about our food? We are very proud of our food and we don't talk about that often. So what do you think about our food? Do you like it, and what is the best meal in Bosnia that you recommend someone to taste?
Um, well, when I go back, I always, my friends always make sure I have a homemade baklava. Um, and then also important is to have some homemade burek. And in fact, one of the things that we took away from Bosnia-Herzegovina was we adopted a dog from the street in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and his name is Burek.
Yeah,
And he reminds us because he's very sweet um, and kind. He can be a bit scared, but he's a very gregarious dog. He loves to meet other dogs, and he's very affectionate. And he reminds us of wonderful times in Bosnia-Herzegovina.
that's such a great story. And you are retirement now, so what looks like your day now?
So my day is a lot of reading, a lot of time to travel and spend time with family and visit friends. But most of my travel is to support the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations I'm supporting. I've joined three boards. One is TechSoup, which I mentioned is in California, and it helps bring technology to civil society organizations. They help tens of thousands of organizations across the globe. I think that's really important because civil society is essential to democracy and our well-being. I joined the board of the War Childhood Museum in Sarajevo because I think they're doing wonderful work trying to advance um, reconciliation. The experience of children during war is, and their efforts to document it is important for the catharsis of the people who visit the museum and who contribute to the museum. And it's important for everyone who's thinking about how to advance peace because it's a reminder of the true costs of war, which are the greatest to the most innocent. So I think the War Childhood Museum is a wonderful institution that's homegrown. It's an idea that came out of Bosnia-Herzegovina, started by young people in Bosnia-Herzegovina that is now scaling to help resolve conflict and prevent conflict elsewhere. Several years ago, before the second invasion of Ukraine, they started to operate in Ukraine. And so I'm helping them scale and become more of a global organization with other members of the board. And then the third organization I joined is called Victory Institute. And it's the full name is LGBTQ plus Victory Institute because for me, as you know, I was the first out gay ambassador in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Many people were shocked by that. Many people were offended by that. But I think more people realized, well, so what? We are, there have always been LGBTQ and intersex people in our communities, and learning to respect and accept them is important. In my time in Bosnia-Herzegovina, I got to support the community with their first Pride, which was wonderful because it may have been the last Pride in the Balkans, but it was the first Pride that was safe. So that was a great event for Bosnia and Herzegovina because it was a success for democracy and for a marginalized community, but also for the government and the authorities to say, yes, we don't all agree with this, but we respect people's freedom of assembly and freedom of speech. So that was a great point for my time in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I joined this organization because I think it's important for democracy. You see Orban and Putin attacking my community, saying that we are bad for communities and bad for democracy, and that's the opposite of what's true. Because when we are involved, we're defending everyone's right to have an identity and to be part of democracy, because democracy is about everybody being represented. So that organization works to help people run for office and say, I may be gay or I may be intersex or lesbian or queer, but I still want to represent and be part of democracy. And that's a difficult environment in Bosnia-Herzegovina still, especially in Srpska, but it's important for democracy that everyone be represented. So I'm so impressed with people who face tremendous adversity and say, no, I'm going to run because you can't silence me. And just because I'm different, I can be at the table as well. And they do a wonderful job of telling everyone in their constituency, I represent you. Because that's what democracy needs to be about, everyone being represented.
Yeah.
So I'm very busy with these, and then when I'm not busy with them, I'm mentoring students, mentoring young people in international affairs, and fortunately have opportunities to do podcasts like this and encourage people like you who are trying to make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you for your effort and I think that I said thank you so much, so many times in this podcast, because I'm really honored to have you as my guest, and your work is incredible right now. And about TechSoup, let's go just a little more. Can people from Bosnia and Herzegovina apply, or it's because some of organization is not for Bosnia and Herzegovina? And I really don't know about this one.
Yeah. So TechSoup, we do have a organization in Bosnia-Herzegovina, but TechSoup.org is available to every civil society organization. There's free and discounted software available. There's advice that's available, and then also organizations that can subscribe for more support. I was back in Sarajevo in November for a TechSoup meeting because TechSoup wanted to bring together civil society organizations from across Europe to talk about what are the challenges that they have and how could technology help them. Because it's civil society that's the first, these small organizations, sometimes 5, 10 people, a budget of, a small budget. And most of these organizations, they don't have a tech person on. They can't afford to hire someone. They have to figure things out on their own. And that's what TechSoup is doing, is they're setting themselves up to actually be the chief technology officer for any NGO. So the NGOs need these tools. They need to protect themselves because they have important data, and there are malicious actors who would love to get their data and steal it, and whether for ransom or for some other malevolent purpose. So these organizations need to protect themselves, need to be smart, need to be able to engage in the technology forums and protect themselves. So anyone who's involved, TechSoup can help. And so look at and subscribe to their newsletters. And they do have a group right there in Sarajevo. That's one of my first exposures to TechSoup, which led me to them later, was meeting the team in Sarajevo.
We will contact them. I know some organizations that are trouble to find someone for security their data.
Yeah,
So
I didn't mention because it's such in terms of other opportunities out there, that another one is Mosaic Foundation. That is, it's
that
also homegrown. It had important help from USAID and other donors early on, but it's a very focused on empowering local people, whether you're an entrepreneur or a civic change maker, to make a difference and to succeed.
yeah, and that's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you tell to young people, like last message for them to remember to highlight to their self?
Um, I would encourage them to continue to reach out and look for, uh, when they think about what they're not satisfied with in their life, in the change that they'd like to see happen, to think about how they could make it happen, to think about how to engage positively and not get pulled into the negativity of blaming others for the problems that are really making their life difficult. That's very easy to do. And there are many actors who are trying to do that, and that's a great way for politicians to actually win elections, is to focus on help making people think that others are responsible for their problems, and not really helping people solve the problems. So I encourage young people to look for opportunities to connect with others who they see are not feeling defeated, who are thinking, I could do better. And sometimes that means leaving your community or so I encourage young people to um, look for those people who are thinking, no, 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 let's make a positive difference, and finding out how they're thinking about doing that, and who can help them do that, because there are people, a lot of people in the world. I think there are more people in the world trying to make a positive difference than do damage. But you have to find them. And you will discover that you have potential that wasn't necessarily obvious when you begin to challenge yourself to do more and to do things that you may not be certain that you're capable of. But if you have the curiosity, that's the important first step. And keep pushing yourself. You know, you don't have to, I hope you don't have to leave Bosnia and Herzegovina to find your real potential. But and because there are so many examples of that, beginning with even someone like Edin Dzeko, who, was a great player in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but until his trainer realized, you could be even better, and took him to Germany, and he exploded. Um, and now he's helping BIH hopefully get to the World Cup. I'll be
Yeah.
cheering on Tuesday for that
We
to happen.
also, we also.
Yeah. Um, I'll be out shouted here in Italy, but I'll be rooting for Bosnia and Herzegovina. But your potential is greater than you may realize, and I encourage you to stretch and find resources, find help, and find people who inspire you to make that stretch.
And one last question. What is your message for young entrepreneurs and people who start up, who owns their own startups in Bosnia and Herzegovina? They're starting something. What is your message to them? Do you have
Um,
some advice or some page that is like to share some ideas for them, or some really, really good website or something like that?
well, the BOLD program supports entrepreneurs, the Mosaic supports entrepreneurs, BH Futures Foundation. So there are a lot of different organizations trying to do that. And then, of course, So what I would say is the most important thing is to be prepared to fail. And that every entrepreneur has failed and failed many times. And one of the challenges for an entrepreneur is failure in many societies is not respected or recognized, or it's a sense of shame, and that's true in Germany. That's true in many places, and it's not true in America. And that's been America's secret to success, is that we always attracted people who were ready to take a risk. And in the way America is organized, we're ready to forgive people who have debts, and let them start up again. And so that's, I think, a key thing for any entrepreneurs. You're going to fail, and you're going to have to learn and your success will be when you learn from that failure and you get up again and try again and learn from the next failure and continue and continue and continue. Because eventually you have partial success and big success. And it's a great endeavor. So if you have that itch, get ready to fail.
Thank you so much. We have for the very, very last quick question, just one or another, okay? And then we are finished. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Mountains or sea?
Mountains.
Early morning or late night?
Late night.
City walk or nature escape?
City walk.
Coffee meeting or Zoom call?
The meeting people in person is always great, but I love a Zoom call because I'm never limited by geography.
Formal events or casual gathering?
I enjoy formal events and the preparation that goes into them.
Book or podcast?
Podcast.
Leadership or teamwork?
Teamwork.
Risk or security job?
Risk.
One country or so many countries you can travel around?
So many.
One. And I need one piece of advice, just one science lesson in one word, one science.
One life lesson.
In one sentence.
Don't get stuck thinking about what you can't do, and think about always what you can do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this podcast.
Audio Jungle.